Y'all seen this? Look at this. That's fascinating. I've never seen that before. Coming from the sun. Celestials are here. Let's get it. It is indeed an interesting video. If you sit there and notice the person's going up into the sun, and they say the sun is a stargate. When you understand the power of dreaming, it's a very powerful thing. Some person may have bent their dreaming towards being raptured inside that manner and going up to another place. But once a person has truly become immortal, you kind of realize certain things about the creation that you don't want to do that. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The rapture isn't supposed to be something that you see. The rapture is a thing that goes on from within you. Now, a person may have used that rapture to bend their dreaming to do such a thing, but ultimately it comes from within you. If you don't understand the inner paradise, the inner things, the actual workings of us as an individual, then you go to another planet, and the next thing that happens, you're sitting there, right? You're still you. You didn't know anything more. You just went through a sun gate. You will continue to live out your life on another place. And if you died there, then you get reset inside the cycle because they didn't understand what comes from within them. That reminds me, I really need to get to making that video about Austin now that I have like 10 minutes. You know how he kind of went into his dreaming and became a lichen, right? And he was like, he's a wolf. He was overheating. Imagine being pulled up into the sun as a shadow. What must that feel like? Pretty hot, I'd assume. Where Austin's dream was more earthbound, this person was more dimensionally, otherworldly minded. Just because we see someone doing those things does not mean that they know the creator. That just means they tap into certain parts within the undermine of how the matrix is woven to do specific things. But you have to understand, from that shadow's perception as it's going up, it's just seeing the things in the world around it. How would you manage to keep yourself from like, oh shit, I'm really doing it? You know, most times people back off. This person decided to go all the way through. But at the same time, you have to go through a sort of destruction in order to get to where you do these things. Inside of that, you could say they're accessing principalities and powers. But it still doesn't mean that you know the main source of why all things come into existence, the person behind the whole things. This is where it really comes into personal research and understanding the kingdom of heaven within you and actually manifesting it from within you to open the gates to go back to our creator. Only once you are known by the person who cannot die, then you don't have to worry about doing things. Why? Because he'll bring you back. You're one of his friends, a part of his family. We've been told all the things that we can see, everything that we look at outside of our eyes is the Maya or the illusion. And whenever you cut the illusion off, all you have is your inborn awareness. The world is being projected by the creator. You know, they said the moon's a hologram, it's a projection, that type of stuff. One must sit inside the silence to understand the passage of time and the fundamental elements of our nature and what it is to be eternal. If one does not understand this, then very rarely do they choose to form an island of self within themselves so that they know how to handle themselves inside the sea of time. They have their own internal barriers. They push back and state that they exist. You see, you'll live again as you will die again. But inside of that life that you get the next time, you'll be someone different than you are now. And the person you are now will be added to the singularity as a potentiality of a person that might have been or could be. Just because you are now does not mean that you are permanent or eternal. How many names lay buried inside the ground that have been forgotten? How many names have you had that have been buried and are forgotten? And when do you decide to become real? When do you decide to get out of samsara? Just because you go to another place, even on the astral planets, they only live to 1,000 years, according to the autobiography of a yogi. So what's the point of running to somewhere else whenever you still don't understand who you are? There are rules that are handed down. You will receive a body. You may like it or not, but it will be yours for the entire time around. You will learn lessons. You are enrolled in a full-time informal school called life. Each day in this school, you will have the opportunity to learn lessons. You may like the lessons or think of them irrelevant or stupid. There are no mistakes, only lessons. Growth is a process of trial and error, experimentation. The failed experiments are as much as part of the process as the experiment that ultimately works. How many times do people go about reinventing themselves when it's all actuality? The only thing that they really need to truly be is be true to themselves and unfold who they are. A lesson is repeated until it is learned. A lesson will be presented to you in various forms until you have learned it. Then you can go on to the next lesson. As in, like, when we date people, we keep on dating the same person, but inside different bodies. Learning lessons does not end. There is no part of life that does not contain its lessons. If you are alive, then there are lessons to be learned. There is no better than here. When you're there has become here, you will simply attain another there that will again look better than here. Like I said, just because a person goes over there doesn't mean that they still know who they are. They still have to go through a lesson. You can do that before you even learn the lesson, because all things are available, free will. You'll eventually get it.
Guru Rinpoche was one of the first to achieve rainbow body and leave his body's imprints in rock. But the rainbow body is not exclusive to Buddhists. Hindus, Jainists, Taoists, and Bonpo practitioners have all achieved this, even if they may call it something else. Ancient religions, as well as New Age movements, often speak about our essence being of pure light, and rainbow body seems to be evidence of this. You may think that even if it was possible, that achieving this is a complex journey of techniques and discipline, although it definitely...
Some people have their body and they take it and they break it down into light. Do they understand enough about the creation to reassemble it and walk around and be themselves again? Ultimately, the body you carry is made of light, but what you are is the person that sits there in the darkness when the senses are turned off. Beyond the illusion, the actual self, there is nothing around you at all. It's deep, deep, deep within, through a mirror. So the others are merely mirrors of you. That's what they say. We're all mirrors of each other, but we all reflect our own images. Take away all images, take away all appearances, take away all sights and smells, take away everything, and go back to that first nature, the first point, and then you will know how the Creator came into existence, and you will also understand that you are not that, but you are a part of that. What you make of your life is up to you. You have all the tools and resources you need, and what you do with them is up to you. The choice is yours. The answers lie inside of you. The answers to life questions lie inside of you. All you need to do is look, listen, and trust. In other words, someone did something cool, but the kingdom of heaven is beyond what the eye can see and what the mind can perceive. It's buried deep, deep within you, something within your nature that you have to go back to. You can see different things that people do and be like, oh my God, these things are happening. And yes, things are happening. Many things are happening on this planet. It's quite an exciting time to be alive. I think everyone can agree. We may not know what's happening, but we know that something is happening. Ultimately, it's up to you to seize your own destiny. And yeah, the Creator will give you challenges to help you write your story, to prove yourself, to make you a bona fide, real deal person. Adversity is made and it comes against us so that we can finally prove ourselves, so that we can have the wherewithal within ourselves to change who we are, to change our perception of self, to see ourselves from many different places, because we do not always see ourselves truly. Other people will see us though, and they see our actions, and eventually you know who you are inside yourself, and you start to act from that person. You start to dream bigger, and you start to ask, how do I achieve these things? Eventually people will realize we're playing a game in eternity, and it's up to them to get the base rules on how to get back into it. But first they must know themselves. You must make a character. That's my thoughts on it. It's a pretty cool feat. Most definitely a thing. Like, surprised they went through with it, but that's legit. Pretty cool.